Kaya was only 6, but he already knew one thing. When the adults whispered, something bad was happening. That night, they were whispering a lot. He sat on the floor in the living room with his little toy cars, driving them in circles on the rug. The TV was on, but the sound was low. He could hear the real noise, the voices in the kitchen. His mother, Mariam. His father, Emma. And his grandmother, Auntie Jo. "Emma, listen to me," Auntie Jo said. Her voice was shaking. "You can't ignore this." "I said I don't want to hear it," Emma answered, louder than usual. Kaya flinched. His father never shouted. He pushed his blue car slowly under the couch and crawled forward a bit so he could see the kitchen door. The light inside was bright. Their shadows moved on the floor. Mariam's voice came next. "Tant Jo, please, not in front of Kaya." "Then send him to bed," Auntie Jo snapped. Kaya's heart beat fast. Was he in trouble? Did he do something wrong? He stayed quiet. If they forgot he was there, he could keep listening. Mariam stepped out of the kitchen and saw him on the floor. Her face was tight, like she was trying not to cry. "Kaya, baby," she said softly, kneeling down. "It's late. Come, let's go to bed, okay?" "Are you and Papa fighting?" he asked. She forced a smile. "No, no. Just talking." He looked into her eyes. They looked scared. "Are you sure?" She swallowed. "Yes." But her eyes said, "No." Before she could take him to his room, Emma's voice came from the kitchen. "Mariam, wait." She froze. Emma walked out slowly. His face looked different. Hard. Cold. He held his phone in his hand, the screen still lit. "Leave him here," he said. "I want him to hear something." Mariam's eyes widened. "Emma, no." "Now," he said. Auntie Jo stood behind him in the doorway. Her mouth was pressed into a hard line, but her eyes were full of worry. Kaya sat up straight, his small hands gripping his toy car so tightly it hurt. Emma lowered himself onto the sofa, his fingers shaking. "Kaya," he said, voice low, "do you know I love you?" Kaya nodded slowly. "Yes, Papa." "Good," Emma whispered. He turned the phone so Mariam could see the screen again. Even from the floor, Kaya could see it too, a message, long and ugly, with too many words. There was a picture at the top. A picture of him. A baby in a blue blanket. He remembered that picture. It was in the photo album. Under it, there were words in a chat bubble. He could read a little. Not much. But he saw his mother's name. And his father's name. And 5 words that made his stomach twist. His not even Emma's son. The room went quiet. Kaya didn't understand what it meant. But he saw what it did. Emma's jaw clenched. Mariam went pale. Auntie Jo's hands were shaking. "That's what they're saying about you," Emma said softly. He was looking at Kaya, but his words were knives aimed at Mariam. "On Facebook. On WhatsApp. Everywhere." "It's a lie," Mariam said quickly, her voice rising. "Emma, look at me. It's not true. You know it's not true." Auntie Jo stepped forward, anger in her eyes. "Then why did someone send this to me? Why did they write, 'Ask your son who the real father is'?" Mariam's eyes filled with tears. "Because people are cruel. Because people hate to see others happy." Emma stared at his wife. How many lies have people said that had a little bit of truth behind them? "None," she whispered. "Not this time. Not about my son." She knelt and pulled Kaya into her arms, holding him tight against her chest. "Don't listen, baby. Grown-ups say stupid things when they're angry." "Is it bad?" he asked quietly. She kissed the top of his head. "No. You're perfect." But he could feel her heart pounding. Emma stood up and walked closer. His eyes were red, but not from crying. From rage. "Mariam," he said, voice low and shaking, "I've been quiet for days. Watching. Thinking. Trying to believe you." She looked up at him, fear in her eyes. "Emma, please." He lifted his phone again. "I went to the hospital yesterday." Auntie Jo gasped. "What?" Mariam's lips parted. You what?" Emma swallowed hard. "I did a test." The world went silent. Mariam's arms tightened around Kaya. A test, she whispered. Emma's voice broke. A DNA test. He looked at his wife, then at his son, the boy who had his smile, his laugh, his stubbornness. And then he said the 4 words that shattered the room. The result says, "His not mine." Mariam's breath left her body. Auntie Jo grabbed the back of a chair. Kaya stared at his father, confused and scared. Mariam shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "No," she whispered, voice breaking. "No. No, Emma. It's not true." Mariam didn't remember how long she sat on the floor that night. Time stopped after those 4 words. "His not mine." Her body felt cold, her mind spinning, trying to understand how everything she loved could fall apart in a single moment. Emma stood near the door, staring at the wall like he was afraid to look at her. Auntie Jo sat in the corner, clutching her rosary, whispering prayers under her breath. Kaya had fallen asleep in her lap, exhausted from crying. Mariam stroked her son's hair, tears falling silently onto his cheek. Her voice trembled. "Emma, please. Tell me you don't believe it." He turned slowly. His eyes were empty, red from a night of no sleep. "I didn't want to believe it, Mariam. But the test. It's wrong," she shouted suddenly. "It has to be wrong." Her voice echoed off the walls, filling the small house with pain. Kaya stirred in his sleep. Auntie Jo whispered, "Lower your voice, child." "The boy." But Mariam couldn't stop shaking. "Do you think I'd lie about something like this? About him?" Emma's jaw tightened. "I don't know what to think anymore." She stood up, wiping her tears. "You went behind my back," she said. "You took a test, Emma. You let strangers decide what kind of father you are." He slammed his fist on the table. "I took the test because I had to know." "Know what?" "Know if everything I've loved was a lie." Silence. The air between them was thick, heavy with anger, fear, and something worse, doubt. Auntie Jo stood up slowly. Her voice was low but sharp. "I told you from the beginning, Emma. I told you something about this woman didn't sit right with me." "Auntie, please," Mariam begged, her voice breaking. "Don't do this." But the older woman's eyes were hard. "You came into my son's life from nowhere. You had secrets, Mariam. We all saw it. I had a past, not secret." Mariam cried. "Everyone has a past." Emma rubbed his face with both hands, shaking his head. He looked tired, not angry anymore, just broken. "I don't even know who to believe." Mariam stepped closer to him. "Then believe me." He looked up. For a moment, she saw the man she'd married, kind, gentle, full of love. But that moment vanished as quickly as it came. "I can't," he whispered. Mariam's knees went weak. She grabbed the edge of the table to stop herself from falling. "You think I could cheat on you? You think I'd lie to you, about Kaya?" Emma didn't answer. Auntie Jo stepped in between them, her voice calm but cold. "Stop fighting. The child doesn't need to hear this." Kaya stirred again, his small voice sleepy. "Mama, why is Papa sad?" Mariam bit her lip to stop herself from crying again. She knelt beside him, brushing his hair back. "He's just tired, baby. Go back to sleep." "Is it because of me?" he whispered. Her heart broke. "No, sweetheart. Never because of you." But Emma turned away, and she saw his shoulders shake. He was crying quietly. Later that night, when Auntie Jo and Emma went to their rooms, Mariam sat alone by Kyra's bed. Her mind raced, trying to find answers, reasons, hope. Who could have sent that message? Who hated her enough to destroy her family? And why did the DNA test say something she knew in her heart wasn't true? She looked at Kyra's little face, so peaceful in sleep. His nose, his smile, everything reminded her of Emma. She took his hand, holding it tight. "I swear," she whispered, "I will prove them wrong. I don't care what it takes." Then she looked at the photo on the bedside table, their family picture from last Christmas, and whispered the words again, as if they were a prayer. "It's not true." By morning, the story had already spread. It started with a single message, a screenshot shared in a small WhatsApp group. Then another person forwarded it. Then another. By the time Mariam woke up, her phone was filled with unread messages, missed calls, and silent judgment. The message said, "They say Kaya isn't Emma's real son. Ask Mariam if she remembers who the father is." No one signed it. No one needed to. In a small town, rumors traveled faster than truth ever could. Mariam sat at the edge of the bed, her hands trembling as she read the messages. "Are you okay? Tell me it's not true. We're praying for you." Each word felt like another stab to her heart. Emma walked in, already dressed for work. He didn't look at her. "Emma," she said softly, "please, you can't go to work today. People will talk." He didn't stop moving. "People already are talking." Mariam stood up, her voice shaking. "Then we face it together." He froze by the door. For a moment, she thought he would turn to her, hold her hand, tell her he still believed in her. But instead, he said quietly, "I don't know how to face people when I don't even know the truth myself." Her heart dropped. "Emma, you do know the truth. You're just too angry to see it." He sighed, finally looking at her. His eyes were tired, empty. "Do I, Mariam? Because right now, it feels like the whole world knows something I don't." He walked out before she could reply, the sound of the door slamming behind him echoing through the house. Auntie Jo stood in the hallway, arms crossed. Her tone was sharp. "You brought this shame to my son's name. Are you happy now?" Mariam stared at her, disbelief and anger mixing in her eyes. "You think I did this? That I want this?" "I think," Auntie Jo said coldly, "a woman who hides her past will always have it chase her one day." Mariam's voice cracked. "You never liked me. You just waited for a moment to destroy me. And you gave it to me," Auntie Jo replied, turning away. Mariam's breath hitched. "You're his mother. You should be helping us fix this." Auntie Jo didn't stop walking. "I'm helping by protecting my son." The words sliced through her like glass. Later that afternoon, Mariam went to the market. She had to, they were running out of food. But she didn't make it past the second stall before she felt it, the eyes. Everywhere she went, people stared. Whispered. Some pitied her. Others smirked. No one smiled. She could feel her face burning. 2 women from church stood by the fruit stand, pretending to talk about oranges. "Poor Emma," one said loudly. "Such a good man," the other replied. "To think he was raising another man's child." Mariam turned, her hands trembling. "You don't know what you're talking about," she said, her voice shaking. They looked startled, then smug. "Oh, we're not saying anything, dear. Just repeating what everyone is saying." Tears welled in her eyes. She walked away before they could see her break. That night, when Emma returned, the house was quiet. Kaya was asleep. Auntie Jo was praying in her room. Mariam sat on the couch, clutching the DNA envelope Emma had thrown on the table the night before. "Emma," she said softly as he entered. He didn't answer. "Please, listen to me. That test, it's not right. Someone must have tampered with it," he interrupted. "Is that your excuse now?" She stood up, angry and desperate. "I don't need excuses. I need you to believe me." Emma finally turned, his face full of pain. "I want to, Mariam. God knows I want to. But I look at him," he pointed toward Kyra's room, "and now, all I see are questions." Her breath caught. "Then look at me," she whispered. "Do you see lies in my eyes?" He hesitated. For the first time, there was a flicker of something, doubt, but also love. But before he could answer, Auntie Jo appeared at the door, holding her phone. "Emma," she said, her voice trembling, "you need to see this." She handed him the phone. On the screen was a photo, grainy, taken years ago, of Mariam, holding a baby. Next to her was a man no one recognized. The caption read. She told him it was his son. Emma's hand went cold. Mariam froze. Her lips parted, her voice barely a whisper. "Where did you get that?" Auntie Jo's eyes were full of fear and something close to triumph. "It's all over the internet." The room went silent again. Kyra's small voice broke it from the hallway. "Mama, who's that man in the picture?" Mariam turned, her heart racing, her throat tight. And for the first time, She couldn't find any words. Mariam felt her knees weaken the moment she saw the photo. That man, the one standing beside her in the picture, was a ghost from a life she had buried long ago. Daniel. Her voice trembled. Emma, please. Let me explain. But Emma's face was unreadable. Explain what? That you had another man. That you lied to me all these years. It's not like that. Mariam cried, clutching her chest as tears poured down her face. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, Auntie Jo cut in, her arms folded tightly. You thought you could come into this house, live off my son, and pretend that child was his. You fooled everyone, Mariam. Everyone but me. Mariam turned to her, shaking. You're wrong, Auntie Jo. I swear to God, you're wrong. Emma slammed his hand on the table. Then say it. Who is he? Who's the man in that picture with you and Kaya? Her voice cracked. His name is Daniel. But Kaya is not his son. Then why are you holding a baby in his arms? Because, she stopped, her breath catching. Because Daniel helped me once, when I had nothing. That picture was taken the day before I left everything behind. Left what behind? Emma demanded. Mariam's hands trembled. My old life. She sank onto the couch, covering her face as memories she'd locked away came flooding back, the small apartment, the noise, the fear, the smell of cheap whiskey. When I was younger, she began softly, I was in a bad relationship. Daniel was my landlord. When my ex, her voice faltered, when he started getting violent, Daniel helped me leave. He let me stay with his sister for a few days until I found work. Auntie Jo's voice was sharp. And that baby. Mariam looked up, her eyes red. That baby was his sister's child, not mine. Liar. Auntie Jo snapped. You expect us to believe that? Emma stood silently, his jaw clenched. He wanted to believe her, she could see it in his eyes, but doubt was stronger than love now. Why didn't you ever tell me this before? He asked quietly. Because I was ashamed, Mariam whispered. I didn't want my past to follow me here. I thought if I buried it deep enough, it would stay there. Emma turned away. But it didn't. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Mariam sat alone in the living room, staring at the photo on Auntie Jo's phone. It had been cropped, edited, designed to destroy her. But who had done it? She opened her laptop, searching for Daniel online. No trace. No profile. Nothing. It was as if he'd vanished from the world. Her phone buzzed suddenly. A message. You can't hide forever. The truth always comes out. Her hands froze. No name. No number. Just that single line. She looked over her shoulder, her heart racing. The house was dark and silent, but something in her gut told her this wasn't over. The next morning, Emma didn't come to breakfast. Auntie Jo moved around the kitchen quietly, humming a hymn as if nothing was wrong. Kaya sat at the table, his big brown eyes filled with confusion. Mama, why doesn't Papa smile anymore? Mariam forced a small smile. He's just tired, baby. Kaya looked down at his food. Did I do something bad? No, sweetheart, she whispered, her throat tightening. You did nothing wrong. Auntie Jo looked up from the stove. Don't lie to the boy, Mariam. He deserves the truth. Mariam stood. And what truth is that, Auntie? The one you made up. The older woman glared at her. The truth that's right in front of your face. Mariam couldn't take it anymore. She stormed out of the kitchen, tears blurring her vision. Outside, the morning sun was rising, but her world had never felt darker. She sat on the porch steps, clutching her phone. The mysterious message replayed in her mind. You can't hide forever. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She typed one word in reply. Who? No response. Just silence. But deep down, Mariam felt it, someone was watching, waiting, and determined to destroy her completely. And the worst part? She wasn't even sure who it was anymore. The sun had barely risen when Mariam's phone buzzed again. Her heart jumped, she'd been awake all night, staring at it, waiting for that unknown number to reply. And now it had. You think Emma knows everything? She froze. Her fingers trembled as she typed back. Who is this? No answer. Then another message appeared, seconds later. Check the drawer under his side of the bed. Mariam's stomach tightened. The air in the room felt heavy. She looked toward the bedroom door. Emma had already left for work. Auntie Jo was in the kitchen with Kaya. The house was quiet, too quiet. Slowly, Mariam walked into the room. Her hands shook as she bent down and pulled open the drawer on Emma's side of the bed. Inside were papers, a few receipts, and something she'd never seen before, a white envelope. Her name was written on it. Mariam. Her heart pounded as she opened it. Inside was a folded sheet of paper, a printed email conversation. The subject line read, DNA confirmation request, 3 samples received. 3 samples. Her hands started to sweat. She read further, eyes widening. Dear Mr. Emma, thank you for sending your samples. We confirm we received 3, 1 from you, 1 from the child, and 1 from a second male donor. Her breath caught. Another sample? She scanned the next lines, and her blood ran cold. Results indicate the second male donor is a 97% match. Mariam's knees went weak. She sat down hard on the floor. Someone had sent 2 samples. Someone wanted to make sure the results would destroy her. And now she knew the test wasn't just a mistake. It was planned. Mama. Kyra's small voice pulled her back to the moment. He stood by the door, rubbing his sleepy eyes. Why are you on the floor? She hid the letter quickly. I dropped something, baby. Go sit with Grandma, okay? Okay. When he left, she took the paper again and stared at it, her mind racing. Who could have done this? Only 2 people knew where the test came from, Emma and Auntie Jo. Her heart ached at the thought. Emma might doubt her, but he would never lie to her like this. Would he? But Auntie Jo. Mariam had seen the way she looked at her, sharp, suspicious, cold. And now, with 1 phone call to the lab, she could have easily changed everything. That evening, when Emma returned, Mariam was waiting in the living room, holding the envelope. Emma, she said quietly. He looked tired, his tie loose, his eyes distant. I don't want to fight again, Mariam. We're not fighting, she said. I just want you to read something. He sighed but took the paper from her hand. As he read, his brow furrowed. Then his eyes widened. Mariam, where did you get this? From your drawer. He looked up sharply. You went through my things? I found it because someone sent me a message this morning, someone who knows about this. She pointed at the email. 3 samples, Emma. Not 2. That means someone else tampered with your tests. He looked lost. Confused. That's impossible. I handed them in myself. She stepped closer. Did you see them test it? Did you watch them seal it? He hesitated. No, they told me to wait outside. Mariam's heart sank. Then someone could have changed it. He stared at her, his face full of disbelief and something else, guilt. Why would anyone do that? Her voice broke. Because someone wants to break us. Auntie Jo walked in at that moment, holding Kyra's pajamas. Break you, she repeated, her tone icy. No one had to do that, Mariam. You did it yourself. Mariam turned to her. Did you send those tests, Auntie? Did you tell them to add another sample? Auntie Jo's face stayed calm, but her eyes flickered for just a second, a tiny flash of something Mariam had never seen before. Fear. Mariam, she said slowly, you should be careful with what you're accusing me of. Emma looked between them, uncertain. Mom, what is she talking about? But Auntie Jo didn't answer him. She looked at Mariam instead and smiled faintly. Sometimes, truth is what you can make people believe. Then she walked away. That night, Mariam sat alone in the dark, the email still open on the table. Her hands shook, her heart pounded, but her mind was finally clear. She whispered to herself. Someone changed everything. But I'll find the truth. And as her phone buzzed again, another message appeared from the unknown number. Good. You're getting closer. Mariam stared at the screen. Her fear turned into determination. Whoever was doing this. Was someone much closer than she ever imagined. Mariam didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, the same questions screamed in her head. Who sent that message? Who changed the DNA test? And why did Auntie Jo's eyes look scared when she asked about the second sample? By morning, her decision was made. She was done waiting for the truth to fall into her hands, she was going to find it herself. She dropped Kaya off at school and headed straight to the hospital where Emma had done the DNA test. The receptionist smiled politely. How can I help you? I need to speak with whoever handled a paternity test for my husband, Emma Brown. It's urgent. The woman frowned. We don't usually discuss those results with anyone except the client. Mariam leaned forward. Please. I'm his wife. This test has destroyed my family. I just need to know if someone else was involved. The woman hesitated, then looked around before whispering, wait here. A few minutes later, a man in a white coat appeared. He had kind eyes, tired but sincere. Mrs. Brown? Come with me. He led her into his office and closed the door. I shouldn't be telling you this, but I remember your husband. He came in 3 weeks ago. Yes, she said quickly. Did he bring anyone with him? The man nodded slowly. He wasn't alone. An older woman was with him. Said she was his mother. She filled out part of the form for him because he was upset. Mariam's heart skipped. Auntie Jo. The doctor frowned. Yes, I think that was her name. After your husband left the room, she asked if she could make sure the test was done right. She said you'd been unfaithful. Mariam's face went pale. She said what? She gave us a second envelope, the doctor continued, looking uncomfortable. Said it contained a reference sample. She told us to run both and send the one that matched her information directly to her. Mariam's voice cracked. She told you to send the results to her? Yes. And since her name was listed as an emergency contact, we did. The world tilted around her. She gripped the edge of the desk to steady herself. So she had the results before Emma did. The doctor nodded slowly. Mrs. Brown. I think you should talk to your husband. Something isn't right here. Mariam whispered, you have no idea. By the time she reached home, her hands were shaking with anger. Auntie Jo was in the kitchen, cutting vegetables as if nothing in the world was wrong. Auntie, Mariam said quietly. Auntie Jo didn't look up. You're back early. Mariam placed the hospital paper on the table between them. I went to the clinic. Auntie Jo's knife froze in midair. They told me everything, Mariam continued, her voice trembling. How you went there with Emma. How you gave them another sample. How you told them I was unfaithful. The older woman slowly set the knife down. I did what I had to do. Mariam's eyes filled with tears. You destroyed me. You broke my marriage, my family. I saved my son, Auntie Jo snapped, her calm mask cracking. I've seen women like you before, Mariam. You come in with smiles and sweet words, and then you ruin everything good in a man's life. I loved him. Mariam cried. I still do. Auntie Jo's eyes flashed with anger. Love doesn't erase lies. Mariam's voice dropped to a whisper. Then tell me this, Auntie, if you were so sure I was lying, why did you need to fake the test? Auntie Jo froze. Mariam stepped closer. Who gave you that second sample? Whose was it? The older woman turned away, clutching the counter. You don't want to know. Yes, I do, Mariam said, her voice trembling. Because whoever it was, they're the reason my son cries at night and my husband doesn't look me in the eye. Auntie Jo turned around slowly, her face pale, her voice cold. It doesn't matter who it was. The truth is already out. Mariam stared at her, heart pounding. No, Auntie. The truth is what you're hiding. Before Auntie Jo could respond, a small voice came from the doorway. Mama. Kaya stood there, clutching his teddy bear. His eyes were wide. Why are you and Grandma fighting again? Mariam swallowed her tears. We're not fighting, baby. Go play, okay? He nodded slowly and walked away. But as he did, Auntie Jo whispered under her breath, just loud enough for Mariam to hear. He shouldn't even be here. Mariam froze. What did you say? Auntie Jo looked up, eyes wet now, shaking slightly. You think I hate you, Mariam. But I did it to protect him. Because the man who gave me that second sample, he's dangerous. And his back. Mariam felt her blood run cold. Who? She whispered. Who is he? Auntie Jo looked her dead in the eyes. Daniel. Mariam's world stopped. The kitchen faded away, the smell of onions, the sound of the knife, even the ticking clock on the wall. Only one word echoed in her head. Daniel. The man she thought she had left behind years ago. Her voice shook. That's impossible, Auntie. Daniel is gone. I haven't seen him since before Kaya was born. Auntie Jo's hands trembled as she reached for a chair. You don't understand what kind of man he is. He found me months ago, before the test. He came to my church. He said he wanted to make things right. Mariam's stomach turned. Make things right? What does that even mean? He told me things, Auntie Jo said softly, her eyes full of guilt. He said Kaya was his child, that you lied to Emma. I didn't believe him at first. But he showed me that picture, the same one that's all over the internet now. Mariam shook her head furiously. He's lying. He's always been a liar. I know, Auntie Jo whispered, but he said if I didn't help him, he'd come after you, and Emma. Mariam leaned against the wall, her breath uneven. So you helped him destroy my marriage instead? Tears welled in the older woman's eyes. I thought if Emma saw proof, if he pulled away from you, Daniel would stop. I didn't know he'd go this far. Mariam covered her mouth, trying not to scream. You helped the man who hurt me. The man I ran away from. Auntie Jo's eyes widened. He hurt you. Mariam nodded slowly, the memories flooding back like poison. You think I left my home because I wanted to? Daniel wasn't just controlling, Auntie. He was cruel. He used to lock me in the house for days. I left with nothing but the clothes on my back. I thought he'd never find me again. Auntie Jo sank into the chair, her face pale. My God. Mariam looked at her, pain twisting through her chest. So when he came to you, you believed him over me. The older woman whispered, I thought he was telling the truth. He said he wanted to see his son one last time before he left the country. Mariam's voice broke. Kaya isn't his son. Emma is his father. How could you not see that? Auntie Jo looked down. I didn't want to believe it, but he had proof, or what looked like proof. Mariam's eyes narrowed. What proof? The older woman hesitated, then pulled out her phone. She scrolled through her messages and handed it to Mariam. On the screen was a message from an unknown number, a photo of a DNA report and a voice note. Mariam pressed play. Daniel's voice filled the room, smooth, cold, and confident. Joanna, I'm not trying to cause trouble. I just want the truth out there. You deserve to know the boy isn't Emma's. Mariam knows it too. She'll never tell you, so I will. Mariam's hands shook so hard she almost dropped the phone. He's manipulating you, Auntie. He's using you to break me. Auntie Jo looked away. Then why would he say he's coming back? Mariam's heart skipped. Coming back? The older woman nodded. He sent me another message last night. He said he's already in town. Mariam felt the floor tilt beneath her. He's here. Auntie Jo whispered, he said he wants to meet Kaya. That night, Mariam sat by Kaya's bed, watching him sleep. His small hand clutched hers, trusting, innocent. She could barely breathe from the fear tightening around her chest. She thought she'd escaped Daniel forever. But now he was back and worse, he'd poisoned everything she loved. She whispered to herself, I won't let him take you, baby. I won't let him hurt us again. Her phone buzzed suddenly. A new message. Unknown number. It's time we talk, Mariam. You owe me that much. Her hands shook as she typed back. Leave us alone. He replied instantly. If you don't meet me, I'll come to your house. Mariam's breath caught. She stared toward the door where Auntie Jo's shadow moved faintly under the light. She knew she couldn't tell Emma, not yet. He wouldn't believe her. But she couldn't ignore Daniel either. Because if he was desperate enough to come back, he was desperate enough to do anything. She looked at Kyra's sleeping face and whispered a promise through her tears. Whatever happens, I'll protect you. even if it means facing my past again. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows. The house was dark except for the warm glow from Kyra's nightlight. Mariam sat in the living room, staring at her phone, waiting. The last message from Daniel still glowed on the screen. If you don't meet me, I'll come to your house. Every creak made her heart race. Every car passing by made her flinch. Auntie Jo had gone to bed early. Emma was working late again, or maybe just avoiding her. Only Kyra's soft breathing from his room reminded her why she couldn't run this time. At exactly 9:47 p.m., there was a knock. 3 slow taps. Mariam's breath caught. She rose quietly, her legs weak, and went to the door. "Who's there?" she whispered. Silence. Then a voice she hadn't heard in years, smooth, cold, and far too calm. "It's me, Mariam." Her stomach twisted. She opened the door a crack. Daniel stood there, older, thinner, but his eyes were the same. The same eyes that used to follow her every move, the same smile that used to turn cruel in a second. "Can I come in?" he asked. She hesitated. "If Emma finds you here." He chuckled softly. "Emma won't be home for hours. He's been staying late at work lately, hasn't he?" Her blood ran cold. "You've been watching us." "Of course," he said simply. "I wanted to see what kind of life you built without me." Mariam stepped back, holding the door open just enough. "Say what you came to say and leave." Daniel walked in slowly, his boots echoing against the wooden floor. "You still look the same. Scared. But still beautiful. Don't talk to me like that." He looked around the living room, eyes landing on Kyra's drawings on the wall, messy little rainbows and stick figures. "That's him?" he asked quietly. Mariam's heart clenched. "You stay away from my son." Daniel smiled faintly. "You really think you can keep me away after all these years? He deserves to know where he came from. He knows exactly where he came from me and Emma." Daniel turned, his expression darkening. "You can lie to your husband, but don't lie to yourself." She glared at him. "You don't know anything." "Oh, I know everything," he said softly, pulling something from his pocket, a small USB drive. "Proof. The kind that ends marriages." Her breath caught. "What's on that?" "Pictures. Messages. Enough to show Emma who you really are." "You faked those." He shrugged. "Maybe. Maybe not. But Emma won't know that." Mariam took a shaky step forward. "Why are you doing this?" Daniel's calm mask cracked, and for a moment his voice trembled with anger. "Because you left me like I was nothing. You took my money, my car, and disappeared. I searched for you for years. You think you can just erase me?" "I ran because you hurt me," she shouted, tears burning her eyes. "You hit me. You locked me in the house. You made me feel like I was nothing." Daniel's jaw tightened. "I gave you everything. And you left me for him. For Emma." Mariam's voice broke. "I left you for peace." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Daniel looked toward Kyra's room. "He deserves to know his real father." Mariam's body went rigid. "You're not his father." He smiled thinly. "The test says otherwise." Her voice was barely a whisper. "You made that happen." He leaned closer, his eyes cold. "I just corrected what should have been true." At that moment, a sound came from the hallway, a soft gasp. They both turned. Auntie Jo stood there, her hand covering her mouth. "Daniel," she whispered. "You promised me you'd leave them alone." Mariam stared at her. "You knew he was coming?" Auntie Jo's eyes filled with tears. "He said if I didn't help, he'd hurt Emma. I didn't know he'd actually show up." Daniel took a step toward her. "Relax, Joanna. I'm not here to hurt anyone. I just want what's mine." "Get out," Mariam said. He smiled faintly. "You don't get to tell me what to do." Suddenly, from the hallway, a small voice whispered, "Mama?" Kaya stood there in his pajamas, holding his teddy bear. Daniel's eyes softened, but not kindly. "So that's him." Mariam stepped in front of her son. "You leave him alone." Daniel raised his hands. "Easy, Mariam. I wouldn't hurt my own child." Her voice shook with fury. "He's not yours." Kaya looked up at her, confused and scared. "Mama, who is he?" Mariam's throat closed. She couldn't speak. Daniel smiled. "I'm someone who's known your mother for a very long time. Go back to bed, Kaya," Mariam whispered. But the boy clutched her hand tightly, refusing to move. Daniel looked at her one last time and said softly, "You can't hide forever. Tomorrow, everyone will know the truth." Then he walked out into the night. The door clicked shut behind him, and the silence that followed was heavier than any scream. Auntie Jo sank into a chair, shaking. "What have I done?" Mariam pulled Kaya close, whispering over and over through her tears. "It's not true, baby. It's not true." But deep inside, she knew Daniel wasn't bluffing. Tomorrow, something big was coming. Morning came like a storm that wouldn't stop. Mariam woke up to her phone buzzing non-stop, dozens of calls, messages, and notifications lighting up the screen. The words that flashed again and again made her stomach drop. "Is it true? Have you seen the video? Tell Emma to stay strong." Her hands shook as she opened one message. It was from her friend Clara. "Mariam, don't go online. Daniel posted something. He tagged Emma." Mariam's blood turned to ice. She ran to the living room, opened her laptop, and typed Daniel's name into Facebook. There it was. A post pinned to the top of his profile, already shared hundreds of times. A video. She clicked it. The clip started with a grainy image, her face. Smiling. Holding Kaya as a baby. Then Daniel's voice came over it, calm and cruel. "This is Mariam. The woman who lied for 6 years. The woman who let another man raise my son." Her throat tightened as she watched. The video showed snippets of photos, old ones from her phone, pictures she'd deleted years ago. Her messages taken out of context, edited to sound like confessions. Then came the final blow, a screenshot of the fake DNA report. At the bottom, in bold letters, "I'm not angry. I just want the truth." The comments section was a battlefield. Strangers judging her, calling her names, saying she should be ashamed. And worse, people she knew were commenting too. "I knew she looked suspicious. Poor Emma. She doesn't deserve that child." Mariam slammed the laptop shut, gasping for breath. Her whole body shook as tears streamed down her face. Emma walked in just then, holding his phone, his face pale. "Mariam," he said quietly, "what is this?" She couldn't speak. She just looked at him, desperate for him to see her, to really see her. "It's all lies," she whispered. "He's doing this to destroy me, Emma. To destroy us." Emma didn't respond right away. He just sank onto the couch, staring at the floor. "I don't know what to believe anymore." "Believe me," she said, her voice trembling. "You have to." He looked up slowly, his eyes filled with pain. "How can I, when everything I see says the opposite?" "Because you know me," she cried. "You've seen who I am. I would never lie about Kaya. Never." Auntie Jo appeared in the hallway, her face pale, her voice quiet. "Emma, she's telling the truth." Emma turned sharply. "You said the test." "I lied," Auntie Jo interrupted, her voice breaking. "Daniel made me help him. He said he'd hurt us if I didn't." Mariam froze. "Auntie." The older woman began to sob. "He came to me, pretending to be sorry. He said he just wanted a chance to see the boy. I thought I was protecting you both. But he used me, Emma. He used all of us." Emma stared at his mother, then at Mariam. "You helped him?" She nodded slowly, ashamed. "He told me you were in danger. I thought if you saw those fake results, you'd stay away from him. But I made everything worse." Mariam took a shaky breath. "Emma, please. You have to believe me now. Daniel's dangerous. He's not just after me, he wants you to break." Emma ran his hands through his hair, his whole body trembling. "Then why post it all online? What does he get from this?" Before anyone could answer, a loud knock echoed through the house. Kaya peeked from the hallway, frightened. "Mama." "Stay there, baby," Mariam said quickly. Emma went to the door and opened it. A delivery man stood there, holding a small box. "Package for Mariam Brown." Emma took it and shut the door. "No return address." Just her name written in neat handwriting. Mariam's heart pounded as she opened it. Inside was a small USB drive identical to the one Daniel had shown her the night before, and a note. She unfolded it slowly. If you want the real truth, watch this before anyone else does. Her hands trembled as she turned to Emma. We have to see what's on it. He hesitated, then nodded. They plugged the drive into the laptop. A single video file appeared. Truth_final.mp4. Mariam clicked it. The screen lit up, Daniel again. Sitting in a dark room, looking into the camera. If you're watching this, Mariam, then I've already done what I said I would. But I'm not a monster. There's something you never knew about Emma. About your marriage. About Kaya. Emma frowned. What is this? Daniel leaned closer to the camera, his eyes cold but calm. You thought you were the only one keeping secrets. But your husband, he wasn't as faithful as you think. Ask him who he visited the week before your wedding. Ask him why he really wanted that test done. Mariam's heart dropped. She turned to Emma. He looked frozen, pale. Mariam whispered, Emma, what is he talking about? He didn't answer. He just stared at the screen, and the look on his face told her the nightmare was far from over. The room went silent. Even the ticking clock seemed to stop. Mariam stared at Emma, waiting for him to speak. But his lips stayed closed, his eyes fixed on the frozen frame of Daniel's smirking face on the laptop screen. Emma, she whispered. What is he talking about? He swallowed hard, his jaw tightening. His lying. Then say it, she said, her voice trembling. Say his lying. But Emma couldn't. His silence was louder than any confession. Auntie Jo shifted uneasily in her chair. Emma, what's going on? He stood abruptly and turned away, running both hands through his hair. It's not what is making it sound like. Mariam's heart pounded. Then what is it? He hesitated. Before we got married, before everything. I was in a bad place. Mariam frowned. What kind of bad place? He turned around, his eyes full of guilt. I lost my job. I was drowning in debt. I didn't know what to do. And then, I met someone. Mariam felt the ground slip beneath her. Someone. She was just a friend at first, he said quickly. Her name was Clara. She helped me through that time. But things got complicated. Auntie Jo gasped softly. Clara? Not that Clara? Emma nodded slowly. Yes. She worked with Daniel. Mariam stepped back. Wait, what? He nodded again, his voice low. Clara was Daniel's sister. Mariam's heart twisted painfully. Emma, are you saying you? I made a mistake, he shouted suddenly, his voice cracking. It was before you and I got engaged. I swear, Mariam. I ended it before we ever got serious. I thought it was behind me. Tears filled her eyes. And you never told me. I was ashamed, he said softly. When Daniel came back, I knew he'd use it against me. That's why I did the DNA test in the first place. I thought, maybe he was right. Maybe I didn't deserve this family. Mariam stared at him, her heart breaking all over again. So he's been controlling all of us. From the start. Auntie Jo sat down heavily, her voice trembling. This man is pure evil. He's been playing every one of us like a game. Mariam nodded slowly. And he's not done yet. She turned to Emma. What else are you not telling me? He hesitated again. When I went for the DNA test, Daniel called me that morning. He said if I didn't do it, he'd make me regret it. I thought he meant the affair. I didn't know he'd twist it this way. So he blackmailed you? Mariam whispered. Yes. And I fell for it. Mariam's breath caught. The anger, the heartbreak, the fear, it all mixed inside her until she could barely stand. He wanted to break us, she said quietly. And we helped him do it. Later that night, Mariam sat by herself in the living room, staring at the dark screen of the laptop. The note Daniel had left with the USB lay beside it. If you want the real truth. She replayed every moment of the past few weeks in her mind, the messages, the photo, the fake report, the video. It wasn't just revenge. It was something deeper. Daniel didn't want money. He wanted control. And he was still winning. The sound of the front door creaking pulled her from her thoughts. Auntie Jo stepped in quietly, holding her phone. Her face looked pale and strained. "Mariam," she said softly, "there's something you need to see." She handed over her phone. It was a text message from an unknown number. "You think it's over? Tomorrow, everyone will know what Emma did to Clara. Watch the news." Mariam's eyes widened. "The news?" Auntie Jo nodded, terrified. "He's going public again." Emma appeared at the doorway, still in his shirt from work, his eyes hollow. "What now?" Mariam handed him the phone silently. He read the message, and his face went pale. "Clara's dead," he whispered. Mariam froze. "What?" "I just got a call from a friend at the station," he said, voice shaking. "She was found last night, in her apartment." Auntie Jo covered her mouth. "Oh, God." Mariam's mind raced. "You think Daniel?" Emma nodded slowly. "He's framing me. He's going to say I did it." Mariam's heart pounded so hard she thought she might faint. "We have to go to the police." Emma shook his head. "No. If he's set this up, he'll have proof. He always does." Auntie Jo whispered, "What do we do now?" Emma looked at them, fear and determination fighting in his eyes. "We find him first." That night, as the rain began to fall, Mariam stood by the window, watching the streetlights blur through the glass. Somewhere out there, Daniel was watching too, waiting for his next move. But for the first time, she wasn't afraid. She turned to Emma and said quietly, "We end this tomorrow." The next morning, the whole town buzzed with whispers. Mariam woke to the sound of sirens echoing faintly outside. Her heart jumped as she rushed to the window. 2 police cars were parked at the end of their street. Emma stood behind her, pale and quiet. "It's starting," he murmured. Auntie Jo came down the stairs clutching her rosary. "They'll come here, won't they?" Mariam turned to Emma. "You didn't do it, right?" Her voice broke as she asked. He looked at her, tired, wounded, and full of fear. "No, Mariam. I swear. I haven't seen Clara in months." Before they could say more, there was a sharp knock on the door. Kaya stirred upstairs, and Mariam whispered, "Stay calm." Emma opened the door. 2 officers stood outside, a tall man and a woman with a clipboard. "Mr. Emma Brown?" the officer asked. "Yes. I'm Detective Harris. This is Detective June. We're investigating the death of Clara Hill. We'd like to ask you a few questions." Emma nodded stiffly. "Of course." They stepped inside, their radios crackling softly. The air felt heavy, like the house itself was holding its breath. Detective Harris opened his notebook. "You were seen near her apartment building 2 nights ago. Is that correct?" Emma blinked. "What?" "No, I was at work." The detective raised an eyebrow. "Your car was caught on a traffic camera 3 blocks from her street around 8:45 p.m. Mariam's heart skipped. "That's impossible. He was home that night." Emma frowned, trying to remember. "I went to get groceries, but I wasn't near her place." Harris exchanged a look with his partner. "We'll need to verify that. For now, we just have a few questions." Emma nodded, nervous. June flipped through a small folder and slid a photo across the table. "Do you recognize this?" Emma froze. It was a still image from a security camera, a man, same height as him, wearing his jacket, standing outside Clara's building. Mariam's hand went to her mouth. "That's not you." Emma's voice shook. "It's not. Then who is it?" June asked softly. There was a silence so deep Mariam could hear the rain tapping against the windows. Emma finally whispered, "Daniel." Harris tilted his head. "Daniel Reed? The same man who posted that video online?" Mariam nodded quickly. "Yes. He's been tormenting us for weeks. He's behind all of this." June looked unconvinced. "That's a serious accusation. Do you have any proof?" Mariam pointed to the USB drive on the table. "Everything you need is on that." The detectives exchanged a look, then Harris plugged it into his laptop. For several minutes, the room was silent except for the faint hum of the computer. Then, Daniel's voice filled the air again. You thought I was cruel, Emma. But you're worse. You took everything from me, my sister, my name, my life. Now it's your turn to lose it all. The detectives froze. Daniel's face appeared on screen, speaking calmly, almost rehearsed. If anything happens to me or Clara, look no further than Emma Brown. He's the one who couldn't keep his secrets buried. Mariam whispered, he planned this. Emma's hands trembled. He recorded this before she even died. Harris nodded slowly, closing the laptop. We'll need to verify the timestamp, but this changes things. An hour later, the detectives left, taking the drive with them. The silence that followed felt endless. Auntie Jo sat by the window, staring out. He's playing with the police now. Mariam nodded, exhausted. He's always 3 steps ahead. Emma sank onto the couch, his face buried in his hands. He won't stop until I'm gone. Mariam walked over and knelt beside him. Then we don't hide anymore. We fight back. He looked up, his eyes full of pain. How? She took a deep breath. We find proof he was there. Cameras, witnesses, anything. He's smart, but he's careless when he's angry. We'll find something. Auntie Jo's voice trembled. And what if you don't? Mariam looked at her, then at Kyra's little drawing pinned to the wall, a picture of their family, hand in hand, smiling under a blue sky. Her voice hardened. Then I'll make him confess myself. That night, as the rain turned to thunder, a message appeared on Mariam's phone. No number. No name. Just one sentence. If you want to know the truth about Clara, come to the old glass factory. Alone. Mariam's hands shook. Emma was asleep on the couch, exhausted. Auntie Jo was upstairs with Kaya. The house was quiet, too quiet. She slipped on her coat, grabbed her phone, and whispered to herself. It ends tonight. And as she stepped out into the storm, she didn't notice the car parked across the street, headlights dimmed, engine running, waiting. The rain hammered against the roof of the old glass factory, a steady rhythm that matched the beating of Mariam's heart. She stood just inside the doorway, dripping wet, clutching her phone like it was her only anchor. Daniel, she called out, her voice echoing in the vast, hollow space. A shadow moved between the pillars of broken glass. Then he stepped out, older, thinner, eyes burning with a strange calm. You came, he said softly. I'm not afraid of you anymore, Mariam replied, though her trembling hands said otherwise. He smirked. You should be. I've told you before, Mariam, truth hurts more than lies. Then tell me, she said, taking a step forward. Tell me what this has all been for. You ruined my life, destroyed my marriage, made the whole town hate me. What do you want? Daniel looked at her for a long moment before replying, I want peace. Mariam laughed bitterly. You don't want peace. You want revenge. He shook his head. Revenge and peace, sometimes they wear the same face. Mariam glared at him, her voice breaking. You lied about Kaya. You made Emma believe things that weren't true. Daniel's tone softened suddenly. Did I lie? Yes, she shouted. Kaya is Emma's son. He tilted his head. You're sure about that? Of course I am. Daniel took a slow step forward. His voice dropped to a whisper. Then why did Clara record a message for you the night she died? Mariam froze. What message? He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small flash drive, soaked, scratched, but still intact. This one. Mariam's breath caught. Clara. She wanted to tell you the truth, Daniel said, his voice trembling slightly for the first time. But she never got the chance. I found her that night. She'd already, he stopped, looking away. It doesn't matter. Watch it. Mariam's hands shook as she plugged the drive into her phone. The screen flickered, then a video appeared. Clara's face filled the screen, pale, tear-streaked, afraid. Mariam, if you're watching this, it means something went wrong. Daniel's not himself anymore. He blames Emma for everything. But there's something you don't know. The video glitched, static breaking her words apart. Kyra's test, not Daniel's. Emma's choice. Then the image froze completely. Mariam's voice broke. What does that mean? Daniel stared at her. It means Emma lied to you too. She shook her head. No. No, he wouldn't. He would, Daniel said quietly. Because he already knew the test was fake. I never needed to change it. He asked the lab to run it again himself. I only pushed him to see what he'd do. Mariam's breath came out in short, panicked gasps. You're lying again. Daniel sighed. Check his email. You'll find the messages to the lab yourself. Tears welled in her eyes. Why are you doing this? What are you trying to prove? Daniel looked at her sadly. That none of us are innocent. You lied to protect yourself. I lied to hurt you. Emma lied to hide his guilt. We all built this life on half-truths and pain. Mariam's voice broke. You don't get to play philosopher after everything you've done. I didn't come here to hurt you tonight, he said softly. I came to end it. For good. He reached into his pocket again, this time pulling out a small envelope. He handed it to her. Mariam opened it slowly, her heart pounding. Inside was a real, sealed DNA report from the hospital itself. Result: Emma Brown, 99.9% match. Her knees gave way. She dropped to the floor, clutching the paper. It's true, it's really true. Daniel watched her, his face unreadable. I know. I wanted to see if you'd still believe him after everything. I needed to see if someone could still believe in love, even after all the lies. Mariam looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. Then why hurt us? He gave a small, broken smile. Because I couldn't stand that you got the life I destroyed for myself. For the first time, she saw it, not rage, but emptiness. Daniel wasn't a monster. He was just a man who'd lost everything and didn't know how to stop bleeding on the people who hadn't. Go home, Mariam, he said quietly. Take your family and leave this all behind. You've won. She stood, clutching the paper to her chest. You can still fix this, Daniel. Go to the police, tell them the truth. He shook his head. It's too late for that. She opened her mouth to argue, but before she could speak, there was a sound. A loud crack. A gunshot. She screamed and dropped to the floor, covering her ears. When she looked up, Daniel was slumped against the wall, his hand still holding the gun. Blood mixed with the rain running down the broken tiles. Mariam's sobs echoed through the factory. By the time the police arrived, the storm had passed. The sky was clearing, soft light breaking through dark clouds. Emma found her sitting on the ground outside, the envelope still clutched in her hands. Mariam, he whispered, kneeling beside her. She looked up at him, exhausted but calm. It's over. He pulled her close, his voice breaking. I'm sorry. For everything. She rested her head against his shoulder. Me too. Inside, the factory was quiet again, no more echoes, no more lies. Weeks later, life began to heal itself. The gossip faded. The town moved on. Emma went back to work. Auntie Jo prayed more than ever. And Mariam spent her days watching Kaya play in the yard, laughter filling the air again. Sometimes, she'd still catch her reflection in the mirror, tired eyes, softer smile, and think about everything they'd survived. She'd whisper to herself. The mirror doesn't always tell the truth, but sometimes, it shows who we became after the truth broke us. She turned off the light, walked out of the room, and closed the door, leaving the past behind, at last. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. Your support helps me tell more stories from the heart. Subscribe now and never miss the next story. This is I Told Stories, where every story feels real.